This will be a review show like no other, as it is not a review show. This is an assessment of comic books. We're going to be doing assessments based upon the work within inside. This is not meant in any way, shape, or form to be a negative show, just for views. Nor is it an ass-kissing show for. So what happens when the assessment becomes about you? I have been on a journey over the last decade that has seen me attacked, death threats given, other threats thrown around, lies, even vicious types spread about me, my heart broken repeatedly by betrayals. People have set out to do harm to me and my loved ones and those I care for. Despite all of this, I still want to help my fellow creators and humans in need. And I have helped thousands, in fact, from all walks of life. I have stood against those who seek to harm and stood with those who have been abused. I dared, to challenge people by asking questions, hard ones at times, and have shared my journey with those willing to watch. But even still, for many of us, we only see each other in moments, some of which aren't our best. We have, and I have, certainly made mistakes on this journey, and we have grown together. Some have seen great success, while others have been left behind. But I assure you, in this moment, what we do next matters. This is a moment where everything changes. We all have to look deep inside and decide who we will be going forward. While I have thoroughly enjoyed our debates, and I have felt really that it has created an environment that allowed people to have a voice, and I have seen many others copying these conversations on their own profiles, I have found myself at a crossroads at the beginning of this year. Born out of want, and if I'm being honest, necessity, I found myself wanting to be part of something bigger than just me. I declared this early in the year, that one way or another, I would be part of something that could bring change to comics in a positive way. From advocacy to debates, I have always wanted to challenge the industry and find a way to add to it, as I owe it so much. From my escape from dark times to inspiration for a better future, and my ability to actually read, comics have always been there for me, and I owe them a lot. And so finally, after years of avoiding the many times I have been asked to join or be part of other publishers and opportunities that have arose, an opportunity has arose with like-minded people who have a burning desire to create comics and make this industry more interesting again. It all came together thanks to the thing driving us all mad, C19. We all met and found each other in a place where we had similar thoughts. Comics needed a beacon for creators, and it was time to change the landscape. And that is what Terraforming Comics is. Joining what I hope will one day be referred to as a movement forward for both creators and comics will require me to channel a side of me you don't know and really haven't seen, my professional side. This is done to foster a welcoming environment for all creators, as well as give Terraform a look of respectability and professionalism. I will hold myself to a higher standard. I will lead with my passion for comics and remove as much ego as possible. Ultimately, for many of you, you have only seen but a part of me in different moments. You cannot, nor ever will, fully know who I am without having a personal relationship with me. So for some of you, this may seem very jarring as an experience. You will notice changes, even in how I speak. To me, this is just another gear I have always had that I will now be sharing with everyone. This will require me to no longer actively debate, as well as being less interactive publicly with creators. Many times that I have tried to look out for creators, trying to warn them about possible missteps they were making publicly, and to be honest, often met with resistance and unwillingness to listen. Never gave the right image I wanted it to. Looking back on it, despite my best intentions, I spent too much time on social media trying to educate and tell people where I thought they might have been making a mistake. I am going to turn all of my passion for comic books into creations and Terraform Comics, building that to be a publisher that everyone sees as a beacon for creators. I wholeheartedly offer my messenger to anyone who wants to engage in civil discourse on any topic. However, from this moment on, my social media will be about personal anecdotes that I feel like sharing in the comic book industry, with some outside historical moments shared for the masses. I do this to ensure I lead. I do this to ensure I lead without idealism or trying to help people, but rather trying to build something for a better future. I have help, and that help will help me get to become a better creator and a better leader for whatever is coming next. Now, I will continue to help people with my site, comicbookadvocates.com. This site will always be about creators, but we are going to be terraforming it into a more professional manner. We will be promoting through professional promotional materials or press releases and properly formatted information, as it were. We are trying to hope to raise what we do, give you quality shows, and of course, continue our interviews. My advocating for creators is not coming to an end, and Terraform Comics will not own comicbookadvocates.com. That will be something solely on my shoulders. But we are now taking into account who are demanding that we up our game and we begin to give better quality content. We are approaching 50,000 subscribers, and I am going to be listening to what they want, and the things they want, they'll get more of. Now, as to my individual titles, they are not all going into Terraform Comics. I will still run Advocate Comics as an imprint, and AnderSiN Comics is going nowhere. Some of my titles may transfer over after a certain amount of time in the future. Some probably will never. Barbara Unleashed is not something I don't think I will ever bring to Terraform Comics. That will always be handled directly by me. I want to build something with Terraform Comics that not only brings me success, but brings many other creators success. We will make mistakes. We will see change. But I also believe we will stand the test of time because of the passion the creators involved with have, and I am happily and proudly terraformed. I do want to acknowledge the people who are part of this: Brian K. Morris, Meredith Logren, Luke Stone, Eric Hodson. And I want to also just, Varian Grant has been someone and I really appreciate, because Varian Grant is one of those guys who's always kicked doors open for the gatekeepers. And I wanted to acknowledge that his passion for comics is something great that we're going to have on our side with Terraform Comics. I wish I could have brought everyone together for this. I know you guys might have been looking for the Demon's Domain. That couldn't happen today because we were going to be releasing Terraform Comics, and I wanted to take this time and spend some time with all of you explaining what the future is. If anyone has questions, I'm open to answering them. I've also got Luke Stone with me, who will introduce himself in just a moment. He's listened to every statement I've made, and I'm open to answering anything. This is an exciting moment. I have put off being part of any group outside of the Advocator being the only time I really teamed up with anyone publicly. So this is a big moment for me. I'm showing trust to a group of people that I am amazed by and blown away by. This has been happening for weeks, if not months. And I think that a lot of people don't even know this. Me and Luke actually know each other a very long time. And this is not the first time something like this has come up, but I remember me and Luke 4 or 5 years ago talking about this very idea and it just not being right at the time.
Yeah.
So what do you think of my statement? What would you like to add, more importantly?
Man, yeah, I think you said it. I think you said it very well. I think every person has a time in their life when it's time to evolve from where we are to in kind of the next stage. I recently went through the exact same thing with Starcross Comics. You know, it was time for me to evolve from kind of that stage in my life into the next stage. And so, you know, I too am kind of taking that journey along with you. And I've fielded several questions over the last 24 hours that says, that has been, Luke, what is your future? What are you guys doing with Terraform? We really like the announcement. What's happening with the stuff that you did with Starcross and things like that. And so I've had an opportunity to talk about all of those things and to deal with that in a on a more personal level in the DMs and not so much publicly. But yeah, that I think you handled it very well. I think you shared your heart. I think you covered that very with great. I think it was very well articulated. I really like your statement. So,
thank you. Well, I come up with the point that it was time to stop reacting to life and start planning life. And I feel like I'd gotten in almost a rut when this whole journey started, and this started to become something serious, and it was a conversation. I had to stop and assess myself. That's why we left the assessment up over there, which we can change now. That it became about, well, what am I offering? Who am I really, and what are my strengths? And you have to kind of take a hard look at yourself sometimes, and you have to recognize, hey, wait a minute, and I think a lot of this comes from a conversation with Luke. I won't go into the specifics of the conversation, but Luke actually reached out to me. He's like, you sound pretty upset. And I'm like, I'm not upset at all. And Luke's like, no, but you really do. And I was typing to him, and he's like, even now you sound upset. And then when I called him up and I started explaining how I felt, and I put my voice to the words, Luke is like, it sounds so different when you say it out loud. And I realized that a lot of my humanity is probably getting lost in my words, because I know who I am. I stubbornly understand what I mean, and I don't care if anyone else understands it, because it's their job to ask the question. There's one problem with that. That's based on ego. And when you have to stop and explain yourself, and I learned this with branding. I'm stubborn as shit because I didn't ever think of this. And I've heard people say this to me all the time. My tone matters. And when I realized that because Luke was just trying to look out for me. He thought I was upset when I wasn't. And it made me suddenly realize, well, how many people just aren't getting it, and how much of that is my fault? How much of it is just me being that kid from New York, thinking I can constantly be that kid from New York, even though I don't even live in New York anymore, and even though I'm not a kid anymore? Maybe it's just time to take that chip off my shoulder and bring out that more professional side of myself. And I could call myself a writer, so I should be doing a lot better at writing what I'm thinking online.
Well, I will say this too. A lot of people have really gotten a chance to know the devil. But there's a few of us that have gotten a chance to get to know Rob. And I think that the persona of the devil, which is, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. I'm not down on that at all. But I think some of the people miss the humanity of Rob. They miss Rob the father. They miss Rob the friend. They miss that kind of stuff. And so I'm looking forward to people seeing kind of like how, Shrek, ogres are like onions. They've got layers. I'm ready for people to start seeing more layers of Rob. So I think that's going to be a good.
I can never go back to Universal and see Shrek the same way again, Luke. You've ruined it for me.
I know. Well, that's what I do. I ruin things for people. That's my job, I guess.
But I think that's what Terraform Comics is going to be. It's going to be a giant onion. It's going to have a lot of layers, and it's a lot of different stories, a lot of passion. Just even the way the group came together was such a fluke. This should have never come together the way it did. If you take away C19, this probably never happens.
No, yeah, and that's absolutely true. So you'd mentioned that we had talked about this many years ago. So about 5 years ago or so, 2015, a good friend of mine's brother. So I wasn't real close with his brother, but a good friend of mine, Gary Dale, his brother Jeremy had been drawing comic books for IDW. He had gone to a convention and gotten sick, the typical con crud. But something happened in it, and he evolved into something much worse. And what he wound up contracting was some kind of pneumonia, which wound up taking his life. And I remember that this dude was just a few years older than I was. And so I was like, oh, this is terrible. This is terrible, terrible stuff. And it shook me, and it inspired me to start doing comics. And I remember because you had started the Written Sins and things like that around the same time that I had gotten inspired to start a thing called Tenacious Comics. And so we had some conversations about joining up and joining forces, but it just never really seemed to work. You were really into Barbara Unleashed at the time, and wanted to just kind of keep that on your own, and you didn't really have anything else that you're working on, and it just, made sense. But we kind of started in those directions. And here recently, because of COVID-19, I've had more time on my hands. And with the more time on my hands, I've been able to really focus in on my art, my creating, my writing, and all of those aspects of kind of creation. And it also allowed me to start to really think about taking comics and writing and art as a serious way of bringing in income for my family. And so I started to realize that I needed to make a step in that direction. And it was a very difficult decision for me to make. But a part of that, we had talked, and I talked with a few other people, and they said, well, Luke, if you decide that you want to take that step out, well, let us know, because we want to take it. We want to try to take it with you. And so if it weren't for COVID-19, that extra time, the conversations would have never even happened. And so it has evolved in a very, very neat way. And so I'm looking at the comments over here. So hi, Sarah.
What's going on, Sarah? I do think, and then we're going to get into all your comments, because you guys are most important. I do think that just some things just happen for a reason. I think this is that moment. And I've always shied away, and Luke's seen me shy away. No.
Yeah.
But this time it was like, no, this makes sense. Right now it makes sense. And we didn't even know about Diamond when we started talking about this. We didn't know where we'd be today. Lord knows where we'll be tomorrow, but one thing we will be is moving forward. So let's get to some comments. Sarah says, hi, Rob and Brian K. Morris. Brian K. Morris is probably here in spirit. I don't know where he is today. I know he's a busy guy, so he's probably hopefully writing that next best-selling novel.
Yeah, he's got some stuff to write.
This is a good message. Thank you. And thank you, Sarah. Varian Grant is awesome. Having Varian Grant with us, having Indie Vault behind it, having Comic Book Advocates behind it, Geek Insider with Meredith Logren, who's in our chat room and not talking with us here. We're going to all have to get used to being on each other's shows a lot more. And when we're talking about Terraform Comics, it's going to have to be all hands on deck. Even if we sit in the back and just keep our mouths shut to support each other, we're going to have to show numbers and force. So hopefully we get Varian on a couple of shows. He's a busy guy, though. He's got enough.
Yeah, and I will say this about Varian. He is a very good businessman. He gets it. He understands how to make those decisions. And so it was great to have him involved with this, because we need more thinkers like that, creative thinkers.
Yeah, and again, this is a business, not going to be something that's a charity. We are looking to be profitable, maximize our reach, and actually be something that we keep saying it, beacon for creators. We want creators, but I do want to stress this. We're not looking to make your dreams come true. This isn't what we're here for. We're here for the ones who are making their dreams come true and need that final push. So there is going to be an expectation here, guys.
So are you Rob, are you a Doctor Who fan?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so you know the episode of Doctor Who where he kept kind of doing that, going back to that same spot, and there was this big wall of ice or crystal that he had to punch through. And he would go through and he would punch, and forever, every time he would get to that point, he would just kind of reset and go to that point to hit it, but it would punch through the wall. Eventually he punched through the wall. And I kind of feel like the comics industry is that way, because people call it breaking into comics. Well, I kind of feel like what we're doing is saying, we could punch through the wall ourselves, and it might take a really long time to do it, like the good doctor had dealt with, but we realize there's more strength when all of us start to punch through that wall together. And so that's the kind of creator we're looking for. People that they can make it on their own, but they're going to do much better with a collective like this. And actually, I think I can announce one of the creators that we've signed a contract with them, and there's going to be a press release coming out really soon. But we just signed up Austin Janowski to release a book with Terraform Comics. And so there's a guy who could easily do it on his own and has been. But, man, we're looking forward to teaming up with that guy and doing some really awesome stuff with his title. And so
Meredith says, I'm kind of sad to see the debates go away. I understand the decision, but maybe it's just something you revisit another time. I don't think so. And I can tell Meredith that she comes in right now.
I am going to miss the debates too. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of with Meredith on that, but I get where it's at, because so many people want to come at you as I like to put it this way. The trolls really like to come at you. And so if you are offended by that, it might be because you're a troll. If you're not offended by that statement, you understand exactly what I'm saying. But I think that it's time, like you had mentioned the other day in your video, to pass off the baton to someone else. Yeah. And I think it is time for somebody else to pick that up, because now you've got to move on to something else. You're leveling up, and now someone else can level up into that position, that maybe hadn't had that audience before, but can take it now.
Yeah, it's not that I might not join someone's debate one day when we're talking about maybe fan art. And we can talk about how Star Wars is allowing a Kickstarter to go on. So maybe I am pro fan art now. Who knows? But I want to join someone else's debate, because a lot of times when you're the one running it, even if you're silent, I can't tell you how many times people have quoted someone else and put my name towards the quote. And it's like, I never said that. That was someone else in the chat, and I could show it to you. But again, the internet's not about telling the truth. The internet is about feelings more often. And I want to walk away from that. I don't want to deal with feelings. I want to deal with fostering a creative future for comic books. And if it means that I'm going to have less online communication, that's probably better, because it'll be more time creating. It'll be more time helping other creators. It'll be more time with my son. Honestly, I haven't missed it. Like when this all started to get tense in America, I stopped the debates initially just for that reason. And I realized that once I stopped the debates, I felt better, because I wasn't dealing with all of this animosity that people had towards each other and having to almost play referee. And I hadn't realized that it was actually taking a burden on me. And then when I started to realize that, I was like, wow, and you start to see things when you step away from a couple minutes. That's why vacations are very important. It's why every summer we go on vacation with the advocating on Comic Book Advocates. The summer is always typically slower. I don't know what we're doing this year, because obviously this year has been different. Still waiting to see. We're all planning to go to Tampa. Let's see what happens after Tampa, and I'll make a decision then. But I would like to take a vacation. I would like to spend a lot more time with my son goofing off. And this kind of gives me that moment where I get to step a little bit out of the spotlight. Because I've been in the spotlight, I think, just a little too long. I'm getting a little too sunburned by the spotlight, as it were. And it's time to let other people step into that spotlight for a while. And it's time for me to go back to what I'm good at, creating comics. I mean, I had a weekend where there were a lot of things being said about me, but the whole weekend, you can ask Luke, I was writing my book. I wasn't paying much attention to anything but writing my book. And getting him a script. And I had one of those moments where I got to page 5 and then the program failed and it didn't autosave for some reason. I was like, I hate my life. I hate my life so very much right now.
Oh, I've been working on the same script for a few weeks, and it's I always find it's really hard when I'm writing a script, because there's so many things that I want to do and so many directions that I could go. And I'm one of those guys that plays, I don't really play chess, but I think like a chess player. And it's like, well, if this happens and this happens, and if that happens and that happens. And so I kind of get, I'll get lost in the script for
I'm working on mine.
Yeah.
Well, Luke got to see my process. I just have writer's vomit onto paper, which I call my prose version, where I tell everything. And Luke's like, you're not going to put that in the first issue. I'm like, no, this is just so you know. You're the co-creator of the artist. You just need to know this shit. We might never reuse it, but you need to know why this is important. And then, of course, I'll use it later, because that's just who I am. But I bury things in the beginning of a story on purpose. Even sometimes the way a person stands is very important to me. I'm one of those guys when I work with an artist, I'm like, no. Kid's got to have the knees to the chest on this scene. Why? I think this is better. No, I'm telling you why later. And then later in the story, I'll have that same pose done in a different way to show the arc of, you started there and then you stand up. So there's a moment where he kneels and he stands up and the story's done. Wow, it's beautiful. That's like Blue said, it's chess. It's all moves. It's all moves when you're creating. And when I get art back, I'm like, wait, the move's wrong. Something in here is wrong. And I'll go back to my own script, because you want to find that exact moment where a beat's missed. And you want to see, was it your fault? Did you miss writing something, or did the artist misread something? So it's complicated. It's complicated. But speaking of something that's not complicated, Meredith, how did you get involved with this ragtag group?
I have no fucking idea. Honestly, I met you, Rob, at Space Coast Comic Con. And then it started with an interview. And then it moved on to conversations on Facebook. And then before I knew it, I had an invite to the Comic Book Advocates Network. I'm like, I don't think I belong here. but wait, there's more. You know, I've always wanted to create a comic book. I just never had the time or the direction or the mentorship to create one. So speaking with you guys, interviewing more people and getting this process, that's how the Comic Noob came into being. And, you know, eventually I think with my experience in social media, plus the connections that I have with Geek Insider, I think that helped, you know, and then I volunteered to, you know, build at least the first round of the website, you know, so that we had something for people to go to. And, you know, so I mean, I'm utilizing all of my skill to promote Terraform Comics. And at the same time, I'm hoping to keep going with my comic books because I've got more than one idea. And that's kind of, I've got that dedication. I feel from the very beginning that all of us took ownership of this because we kind of have the same messaging, we have the same drive, and now let's see how we're working together. And so far, it's just been an amazing experience to collaborate with you guys and get the feedback and build this and launch it. It's really stunning.
I do want to say one thing. Once it's yours, no backseas. I don't. You're the website. You're in charge of social media. When Luke said Meredith's in charge of social media, I was like, yes, please, thank you. And I was like, I am so like after building.
Run away.
Well, see, here's the thing. A lot of people don't know my background. My background is actually in forming teams. Like I would go into a store when I was in the retail world, and I would go in. I was what they would consider a fixer. I would go in. I'd help develop a team. I'd build up the people that needed to be there, and then that store would get running fine, and then I would move on to the next. We did the same with youth groups and things like that when we went into ministry, and until my wife and I took over lead pastorship at the church we're at now. It was always about fixing and kind of moving, you know, kind of doing something and then moving on. And this is the first place where we're like, hey, we're sticking it out. And so it's been great. So with Terraform, it was a matter of like, okay, well, let's find out who the team is going to be. And we had a lot of people come to the table for conversation to start with. And doing something like this isn't for everybody. You know, it's, you know, it depends on what trajectory you're on. If we can row in the boat together, if we're going to the same place for, you know, then we can do that for a while. And I have no expectation that, you know, it's going to be extremely long. I would like it to be long-term, 2, 5, 10 years, whatever, that we're all working together. But I understand that, you know, at some point people are going to want to get off that boat at the next stop and maybe go down a different fork in the river. And so, you know, we take a look at it that way. But we've had some great people that we had initially part of the conversation. In fact, one of those people was Chuck Pino, who's edited for all of us, or will be editing for all of us at some point. And he's actually the guy that came up with the idea for the Terraform Comics name. And he was like, okay, well, see you guys, you know, because he's got his own thing going, and the time investment to something like this is just not something that everybody can invest in. And if you're working with those things. And so it just happened to be that as we started to bring the different minds to the table and the different ideas that, you know, as people started to be able to say, hey, I want to settle into this, we were able to find the team members and then build our momentum and our business plan around that. And so we've been very fortunate with that. And so my initial goal was, let me find people that have skill sets that offset mine and that are better than mine. And so when we brought Meredith in, it was like, Meredith, you are way better at communicating to the masses than I am. I'm very short-sighted when it comes to some of that stuff. I will post a couple of times and then I'm back in my own little world. Like you've probably even seen now that I keep my head goes down because I'm literally drawing a page as we talk. You know, what I want to do is write and draw. That's what I want to do. And I think right now Travis really wants me to draw too. So because we've got a book that's coming out. So I just saw Travis's comment. That's funny.
We'll get to the comments in a minute. You can be assured we're going to get to you. But Meredith, that whole long explanation was really, I'll tell you what really happened. We were all together one night and we were like, I don't want to do social media. You do social media. And they were like, no, you do social media. And then it was just like,
I feel so used.
you know that person, Meredith? I was like, yeah, no. The reason that Meredith is here is because I also thought, and I know Luke agrees with this, not only is she talented, she's certainly talented. We're blown away by her. But we also felt it was important to bring someone on the journey, to help someone, to groom someone. And we hope that Meredith will take that role when she's done and do it with someone else. Bring someone into the fold. Build someone up. Once a year, we talked about this. We want to bring someone who is a new creator, and we want to make their dream come true. That is a goal that me and Luke have talked about. And we wish we could do it for every creator. For now, it's going to be one project a year as we grow bigger. And like Luke said, this is going to be a changing group. And I've told Luke, I have no plans of leaving this. I don't care who I get picked up with. I will be part of this. I might not be a daily part of it at certain points. I might have to step away for a few weeks to do projects, but I'll always be reachable by emails. We have talked about this. We want it to be the Image Comics of indie creators or independent creators. And what we mean by that, I know everyone's like, no, Image is independent. You got to kind of have already broken through a lot of things to get to Image. You have gotten to get way up on the scale. We want to be that step before Image. And we're okay if people bounce up towards Image. That makes sense to us. We want to be that. And I made the reference the other day, and it's just this simple. For wrestling fans, we're the mid-card players that need the title shots. And that's all we need is one title shot in our T-shirts on every little kid. And, we got the crowd cheering for us. And we're on the Haagen-Dazs bar that they're putting out. And that's what all of us are. We're at that point. Any one of us can break through right now. Remember the old wrestling bars? You had
Dude, yeah, I remember that, man. That's a great reference.
Thank you. And that's basically where we are, one title shot away. And it could happen to any one of us in this group. And we hope it happens to Meredith. But we always hope that everyone who starts here fondly remembers it and continues that conversation. And that's why we will be cherry picking a little bit. It's not gatekeeping. It's a standard. And it's not that we're trying to say no to people who come to us. It's that we're telling them they're not ready. And that's because we care. I know it sounds weird. Why would you reject me if you care? We're doing it because we don't want to put you out to fail. We're not just going to sign people, throw them out to the wolves, and hey, if it gets picked up by a major studio, we'll cash in. Our goal is nothing.
Yeah, we're not trying to make money off of anybody. We're actually trying to help other people make comics a viable living, whether it be a part-time living or a full-time living, because that's my goal. Right now I'm a full-time pastor, and I want to continue to stay a full-time pastor. But what I really want to do is to be able to work, have the freedom to be able to work full-time for the church while still bringing in an income so that they don't have to worry about taking care of me. And so that's my motivation, is I want to try to bring in an income enough so where I can now pour into the ministry and the people that I'm trying to do ministry with instead of taking resources from them. And so that's my goal. And so I want that for me. And if it's easier for me to do that with a group of people that also want to make that same goal, make that same thing. So we feel like there's money out there for us, and we want to help people make a living doing comics. We're not trying to be rich off of anybody, but we're trying to help people make a living doing comics.
Brian K. Morris taking shots from the cheap seat.
Why isn't Brian in here?
I want to know that, man.
Yeah.
Many layers of AnderSiN Rob. That's a good thing. I guess it depends. Like, which layer do you like? Do you like the asshole? Do you like the sweet one? Do you like the dad? Do you like the
whole package?
You know,
I want the whole package.
You and Brian,
because nobody likes a goody all the time.
It's always about the package with you, Meredith. It's always about the package.
It's always about the package.
Shrek is life. Shrek is love. Don't Google that. See, Martin, this is the problem you had with that. I was never going to Google it until you said.
Now we must.
No, Martin. See what you've done, Martin.
I'm already Googling it. You can't see my fingers. They're Googling like crazy. Thank you for joining us today, Martin.
Martin's a great guy.
I done pissed someone off. This is going to be about the cheap seat comment. I know it's coming in hot.
What happened? There he is.
I heard package and
It's the call of Kay Morris.
Damn, all you got to do is talk about where he's sitting in the arena. He gets mad. He's like, cheap seats. I paid good money for these cheap seats. He's behind.
I hear an echo.
Yeah, somebody's listening.
Yeah. Hold on, I think it's me. Hold on, I'll fix it. Hold on.
I'm just going to mute you for a second.
There we go. All right.
I think
Okay. Fixed it, I think.
All right, Brian. So you got the hot seat. Tell them what you bring to the table. Why were you excited to join Terraform? Is it Terraform or Terraforma?
Terraform.
Terraform.
Okay. I just
Terraform.
Terraform. Hey, that would be a great Halloween issue.
That's our offshoot, like our Vertigo line. That's where Meredith will be. But anyway, about me, and sorry I'm out of uniform right now. As you can see, I'm in the catacombs right now here at the compound. The reason I got involved was one of many. I've been involved with other comic ventures over the years, and some have been a little more disastrous, many reasons, and they weren't my fault. I could live with it if it were my fault. But suddenly I'm encountering a group of people that all want the same goals, want to run an actual business rather than a hobby, and are people of serious accomplishment that are putting their egos aside for the benefit not just of the core group, but also people that we bring in afterwards once we're a little more firmly established. And it was also an opportunity for me to do a little, one of a couple projects that was near and dear to my heart. And this all just came together. And plus, I like the heck out of these guys and gal. So that made the decision fairly simple. And like Rob, with his own interest, I'll still be doing Rising Tide publications, but I've just added one more thing to do in what I laughingly call my copious amounts of free time.
I know that feeling.
I understand that feeling.
The year where I'm going to probably still be a teacher in September, I decided, hey, why not just add this to my bag?
Yeah. You're good like that, Rob. So am I. So.
But that's the passion of this group. The fact that we all see something that's missing in this industry. And I'll put this out there, and we've all talked about this privately. We expect over the next couple of years to have smaller publishers join us over time. We expect to feel that growth. We expect to, I hate to say absorb, but I don't have a better answer for that. But part of this business model will be to absorb smaller publishers to make this one grow bigger.
Yeah, or partner with them. Let's say there's a publisher out there that they're doing well, but they need the work and the work ethic, and they need the excitement of what Terraform brings, and maybe they have some connections that we need in some of the areas that we're working on, and so that there's going to be a good give and take in those situations. So we're going to actively look for those kind of partnerships along the way, because we understand that the value of, the more the merrier. It's again, it goes back to that scenario. One of us can punch through the wall eventually, but the more of us that are working to take a chip out of that thing, the better we can do it. It's the same way we shouldn't be tackling anything in our society with any of the negative things that we see. We should be working together to take care of those things. And so we all want to make a living doing comics. We all want to be able to provide for our families doing the thing that we love. And so why not work together to do it? Let's increase our reach. Let's increase our distribution. Let's work on our audience and our capital and all of those things together, and really put forth an effort and give it the best shot that we've got.
How serious are you about Terraform comics? Because we should have called ourselves Crossover Comics, because that's exactly what we are. We are crossing over, and we are doing things. But I'm sure some of a bitch out there has that actually registered as a trademark.
Yeah, I really like Terraform Comics.
So do I. Because I love the pitch line. Changing the landscape is amazing. It's beautiful. But realistically, I mean, this is a time where we had that Avengers moment as a group. We had that call to the Justice League where we all saw an imbalance in independent creator comics, where no publisher was really caring about the standards of what a publisher should do. How are you going to distribute it? What are you going to do to get things ready? Everyone wants to make promises and get you to sign contracts. Our contracts are going to be competitive. We're going to make sure they're competitive. We're going to make sure they're tailored to the creators. We're going to take that time to talk with someone, understand their ambitions, and see whether or not it's a good fit for us. We're not just accepting things blindly, which is a great question that Brian, not Brian in our room, but Brian Wenzelwolf asked us, is this publishing going to have all kinds of stuff? Horror, action, sci-fi, fantasy. Why don't we?
Absolutely.
And why don't we talk about what we've already brought? Because that shows a big diverse group.
Yeah.
Let me call for
Yeah. So right now, Cat Dad and Supermom, which is all ages, or some might think it's geared more towards younger readers, and it kind of is, but it is for all ages. Anyone can enjoy that. We've got Hybrids, which is a teen-like superhero book. Obviously, we are working with the Dreaded Dinosaur Man. That is Eric's first. He has a web comic, but now it's going to be his first print comic. We have a story called Scarlet Trace that Brian is writing, and it's like a pulp style book, and really exciting because there's a great audience for that out there that I don't think a lot of people realize it's there. People are getting back into pulp and the sci-fi aspect of things, and it's going to be awesome. We've working with Meredith has got a book that we are working with, that we're kind of working on right now, and it is kind of, is it horror?
I would say so. It's got zombies in it.
Yeah. And then Austin's got a zombie book that we're doing. So little secret, little guilty pleasure. I am a zombie. Like, I'm a sucker for zombies. And I'm a sucker for ninjas. So if you have any of those kind of books and you say, hey, Luke, I would like to come with Terraformed Comics, you're going to get my vote pretty easy. But our submissions team is like, there's 6 of us in our submissions team. So it has to make it through, not just me, but a whole group of people. But we're doing a very diverse group of kind of books. Did you have something, Meredith?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that one of the things that was really interesting to me was the fact that you weren't specific in the genre that you wanted to reach out to and publish. And that is really exciting because I never wanted to be pigeonholed into the types of stories that I write. And I know that all of us, we have those diverse interests and things. And so when it comes to the stories that we want to bring into Terraform Comics, it's more about the storytelling, the quality in the stories, the quality of the art, and not so much the genre.
Yeah, I find that there's stories that are worth being told that fall into any category, and so we don't want to be real specific about a genre or anything. But what can you go back to that question, the last, because there was something else that he had asked, and it clicked something in my brain, and I wanted to go back to what he said.
Is this publisher going to have all kinds of stuff? Horror, action, sci-fi, fantasy, etc.
Yes. Okay. There was a thought that was there, and I can't seem to find it again. But it's going to be a very diverse, because we're not just looking for one kind of audience. We're looking for many different kinds of audiences. And the other thing is, so here's what I wanted to say. Not only we're also tailoring our contracts to the individual, because we want to find out what your goal is. Like, what is your goal? What do you want to do with your career? Do you want to be a serious hobbyist? Do you want to take yourself to that next level and you want to make a decent living to where you can continue to do what you love while still doing a full-time job? Or do you want to take that next step into, I want to do this for a living and do this, and these are my goals for my IP, this is where I want to take it? Well, we want to work with you and tailor our contracts to help you get to that level. And sometimes if you come and say, well, I really just want to be able to produce a book once a quarter, then we might send you in the direction of somebody else that can help you with that, because, we are going to be very tailored towards what we're going to try to do. But at the same time, we want to offer each individual creator the distribution that they need. Maybe they just need a distribution thing. Maybe they need a development deal. Maybe there's all kinds of stuff that we can do to help with that. And so we want to be very, very specific with people.
And Luke, can you speak about the 3x3s? Because I love that concept.
Yeah, the 3x3s is an idea that I had, and I'd kind of been running it by some people because I was like, I don't know if people are going to get this, but I don't know if you. And I keep forgetting the name of the book. It's the Shogun. You guys help me. It's the Shogun something.
That's not me. I don't do those.
Okay. So anyway, it's basically what it is. It's a group of comics that you get a little piece of the comic a little bit each month, but it's paired with other books. So a basic way to describe it is like, so let's say you've got a 24-page book, and Meredith has a 24-page book, and Rob has a 24-page book. Now, we could easily try to push your title by itself. And so we know that we're going to get your audience. But what if we did this? What if we took a few pages, 8 pages of your book, we took 8 pages of Meredith's book, 8 pages of Rob's book, and we put them together into one book, and that was the first part of your story. And then the next month or the next book was the next 8 pages, and then the next book was the final 8 pages. So instead of trying to sell one book to one audience, now you're selling one book over a sequential over a course of 3 to 6 months to 3 different audiences. So now you have the opportunity to increase the number of readers that you have, to find new fans, and then the other thing that we're doing there is we're actually gaining the respect of the fans, because we're giving them, hey, you like this book, you might also like this book. And so we're gaining a trust with the readers to say, hey, if we're going to put these together for you so that you can read these and enjoy these together. And it also allows for a less strenuous production cycle for our creators. So we can actually produce more content faster, but with less stress and more capital. So it's a really cool idea, and it's going to be for some books, maybe for some and not for others. We're still going to do mini series. We're still going to do one shots and short stories and collections like that. But for some things, the 3x3 might really be the best option for you, and we're looking forward to that. Shogun Jump, that's what it's called.
And one of the things that I want to point out about that too is that if you have those 3 stories in the book, you might have 2 better known authors and then one who's trying to break into it. So you have the benefit as that person of gaining an audience almost immediately, and being associated by having your name on the titles. I mean, so there's something really exciting about that for people who are coming in, who really are looking to create their books. And like Rob and Luke said earlier, we have a team who want to nurture a really good product and put it out there. And when we go through the vetting process of finding those creators, we're going to be going through step by step. I mean, we're not holding hands or anything like that. You have to come in with some amount of skill, a story, an idea, your script and stuff like that. And we do have the submissions guidelines on the website. So anybody who's coming in, you know what we are expecting. So it looks like Brian's putting together more packages.
And Brian, we're also looking for people who are hungry. And I said this, and I mean this. If you come to me and the first thing you ask me is, well, what can I do for you? The honest truth is nothing, because you're not looking to partner. You're looking for someone to do the work. Someone who's hungry comes up and goes, how can I be part of this? That's it. That's someone who wants to be part of something. You don't go to Marvel and go, hey, wait, before I submit my book, Marvel, what can you do for me? Marvel would be like, oh, well, let me show you the exit. I'll be happy to show you the exit. That's what we're going to do for you. A lot of creators get in their own ways and they expect it. We're not delusional. We're at the starting point. We know where we're starting, and we're still passionate. I have had at least a dozen Kickstarters that have been successful. I have delivered on all of them. There are people out there who cannot say that. Brian has successfully crowdfunded. Brian has a successful show where people showed up every day during the height of the pandemic. In the dozens, if not hundreds, of people showed up daily. Luke Stone most recent Kickstarter, he just took it to that next level, and Luke finally found, hey, wait, people like what I'm doing. I love this. And he fell in love with comics again. Meredith has that newbie energy. Yeah, let's take over the world. Varian's got that moment where he's like, I get it now. He sees the roadmap. He knows he's going to get there. And Eric's been in the industry long enough where he wants it now. He probably wants it more than any one of us because Eric's just ready. Eric's like, he's primed and ready. And you hear when he talks about it, he's like, no, this has got to be the best it can be. We cannot get a lower standard because he doesn't want to get it wrong. He doesn't want to go back in the line anymore. He knows where his part of the line is. And he knows he wants to be up in front, riding the roller coaster that is the top of the industry. And that's where we all want to get. I want to tell you all, the minute you get to the top, it's only a matter of time till you get fired from the top. So it's the journey that's very important because when you get kicked back out of the top roller coaster, it's who you've been around that makes sure you don't fall all the way back down. And that's what this is about. This is about making a platform for creators. Plain and simple. Luke, were you going to say something?
No.
Okay, Brian, I'm getting complaints. Eric thinks that we're not letting you talk, that we've muted you. Can you please tell Eric something? He's worried about you. Blink if you're okay.
Back
I don't know why you're always talking about my package.
You're just jealous, Rob. A lot of people are jealous of my package. But I'm bringing my package to Terraform.
And the sexual harassment lawsuits with it.
Yeah, you're the one who was told to behave, not necessarily me. I have a reputation to live down to.
It's funny. Every time we have a meeting about social media, everyone in the room starts looking at my box. Like, you can't say things that are going to upset people. And they're looking right at my box. And I'm just like, I don't do that often. Not 24 hours in a day. I go to sleep.
Yeah. That just leaves the other 16, Rob. I admire your restraint.
I got to learn how to sleep text. No. I did. Higher standards. But Brian's got the energy. He's going to be the voice, basically, of Terraform in real time, while Meredith will be our social media footprint. So you're seeing the voice. Luke, of course, becomes our head. He's going to be our Stan Lee character. Eric's in charge of the art. Varian's going to be in charge of the distribution. I'm part of logistics, which will cover Kickstarters. It's going to cover the getting us to places like cons and all that good stuff. And I actually, I prefer a Batman role. I don't want to be front and center for a lot of this. I trust the people I'm partnering with. I want them to do the parts they want. I want to be available if they have questions, but I want to see what they can do. And just like Batman, I only really want to be involved when shit's gone wrong or shit's really good and it's time to party. The middle stuff, I'm okay with trusting everyone else to do. I'll throw my insight and then walk away. And it's like Luke said, it's not about ego. This is about, hey, how can we make the best we can? You don't bring these types of minds together and survive if everyone's ego is going to come front and center. And I think that we've seen a really good mix of ego,
I want to agree there. It's been early on. So one of our advisors is a guy named Randy Zimmerman. If you don't know who Randy is, shame on you. He's an amazing guy, amazing creator. He's got a resume that is just as impressive as his personality. Early on, I asked Randy, and most of my conversations with Randy were set aside, not in the group. And I said, Randy, what do you think of this? And he goes, it's going to be really hard to keep control of the egos. He goes, if egos will work, if egos stay in check. And so that's the one thing that we kind of all come together. It's like, let's not have egos about it. My work is actually subject to Eric's approval, because he's got a great eye for that. He is like, Rob said, he's very hungry and he wants to see excellence. Like, so, if I do something that I understand that my work and the people I work with are still going to be subject to him and to you guys, the whole group, that, hey, if this can be better, then it needs to be better. Maybe I think I'm where I need to be right now, but really I need to elevate. And so that puts a lot of ego aside. You know, you'd be like, well, this is my idea. You know, you can't have that. It's got to be, let's all work together to make this better. And it can be difficult. And we've whenever we see that coming, we're like, okay, let's find a way to put that down.
And I want to speak to that too. I mean, I don't think that, at least I don't have the sense that any one of us is a raging egomaniac. We might have a strong and powerful voice, but that doesn't make us an egomaniac. It doesn't make us be, have that better than thou, and I'm right and you're wrong, or, my opinion is stronger than anybody else's. I never got the sense of that. Yeah. Now, we actually seen Rob. We were in. I don't know if it was a meeting. I think it was a meeting. We weren't sharing this live stream, and he's in the gym and he's freaking upside down doing these pull-ups and stuff like that. Man,
yeah,
I want to exercise.
Like Rob upside down right now. As this conversation turned Rob upside down,
it's like his feet were straight up. I was like, okay, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, there's Rob doing Batman, like real bad, and he had his microphone real close to his, where he was working out, so he's like,
I was at Cold Stone. They're lying. I was at Cold Stone. I was eating ice cream. It was great. There was a lot of sprinkles. I have no idea what they're talking about. My name is Bruce Wayne. I have no idea what they're speaking of. No, but one thing I do want to stress, though, as much as we want the best, we're not looking for perfection. That is not something we're going to see. We understand everyone's talents are where they are. We're not going to come in and we're going to challenge you to the level we think you can obtain. That will be a compliment. If you can take a compliment like that, you'll fit in just fine. We're going to challenge you to be what we see. And one of the taglines of when this came out was 100 years of experience between all of us, over 100 years. And that's not cheap. My journey started well over a decade ago. Started a year after September 11th when I finished writing my first comic book, which I to date still haven't released. And I remember when I wrote it, I was going to have this millionaire become the president. But everyone was like, there's no way that they're going to have some celebrity millionaire be a president. What did I know?
It's almost prophetic.
I should have wrote that we all had puppies. I should have just wrote it. I'm sorry. I would have wrote we all get puppies. We have some more comments in the room. So let's see. We got Sarah. Sarah says, I love all the work you guys are coming together to do. Stay tuned. We got a lot of exciting things in the next few months. We're really excited about the future. Travis Gibbs says this is a serious I think he meant this is a serious question. With the creator of the team being Comicsgate or anyone who is Comicsgate, will you be catering those book launches to an audience different than other launches of properties, or will it all be the same path? I have gone on record as saying I don't care where anyone declares their little flag in something as long as they act professionally. We have a social media clause in all of the contracts that will prohibit any behavior that is not becoming of something that we want to be, and that's a beacon of the industry. So no, there'll be no different plan on how to promote that, but there'll be still an expectation of professionalism. And that's not a dig at Comicsgate. I have proven I toe a line of being in the middle between the two. We're not going to have a public view on Comicsgate either. If there's a creator that wants our help and they're a good creator, they are welcome here. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong in anything I just said, but I feel that's exactly where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not pulling any lines between. We want, when I say diverse, I mean I truly want diverse. Like if you, you're, as long as you're respectful publicly to people, and you are not being offensive using abusive language, bullying, don't have any racist comments, things like that. If you're strictly just trying to make a good story for an audience, if you've got a story to tell and you are passionate about doing it and you want to do it with the highest quality possible, then I'm happy to work with you. And we're going to market our books that way. So, I mean, I've got friends who are part of the Comicsgate community, And Comicsgate is going through some struggles right now, to be honest with you, and they're having a period of evolution for themselves at the moment. And so some of those creators that were once under that flag have left, and there's always going to be a home for people like that they just want to stay out of the mess and drama of stuff, and they just want to create good comics. There's always going to be a home for those kind of people. Terraform Comics.
Well, guys, it is that time to say goodbye. We're going to give the last comment to our friend Ted Davies, because he hasn't been able to comment on the show, and we appreciate him showing up. I'm glad you all found a path to share your experiences for the greater good of indie comics. You spelled indie wrong. That's okay. Just get rid of that I, add an extra E. And creators. Much success to you all. Thank you, Ted, and same to you. And that's what this isn't just about our personal successes. This is about the success of comic books. So one of the initiatives that we're bringing is comics into kids' hands. Luke is a big proponent about getting kids to read. I know Brian K. Morris is a big proponent about getting kids to read comics. I know Meredith is. I know Varian is, because he's a parent. I know Eric is, because he's a parent. So we're also going to be inviting the next generation of comic book fans. That is why we brought Cat Dad and Supermom here. I could have kept it. I could have launched something different. I wanted this to show that's a struggle. Cat Dad and Supermom is one of those books that would not die. It came back. It showed its power. It got a project we love over on Kickstarter. Got an award. That's what Terraformer Comics is. It's passion. It's constantly driving forward. It is proving that anything is possible if you never give up and you keep powering through. Like Luke Stone has elegantly said, hitting that wall over and over again until you break that thing down. And notice I didn't curse. I feel so good. I was going to say break that fucker down. But luckily I didn't curse. I did not. I kept the curse out.
Well, shit, I'm proud of you, Rob.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It was fucking hard. Luke Stone, we're going to let you say goodbye.
And everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. And I've gotten a lot of comments of support and excitement about this project. I'm very thankful for those. Continue to just support independent comic books in this industry. And there's just so many great creators out there that we want to work with and that we haven't had the opportunity to, or that we are working with right now, and maybe not necessarily in the Terraform Comics realm, but in other realms. And I just want to encourage you guys to just leave the wood pile a little bit higher than you found it. The world is a pretty messed up place now, and comics has always been a place where I feel like people of different backgrounds, of race, religion, and creed, all different walks of life can come together and find unity in it. And so use comics for good, to change our world, to change our culture. And by all means, just have fun. Have fun. And so hopefully you will enjoy what we do here with Terraform Comics. Keep your eyes open and be ready for some really cool announcements to take place here in the next few days.
I love it when Luke stares directly into the camera, because he's staring right into your soul. I'm Meredith Loughran. I am with Geek Insider and Wild One Forever, Comic Book Advocates Network. I am the comics noob, and now with Terraform Comics. And I'm really excited about this opportunity. I want to use as many of my platforms to promote this, because they are such a great group of people. Their creativity, the aspirations, and the quality of work, the drive that's behind it is it speaks to me. It speaks to my work ethic, and anything that I can bring to this platform is what I'm going to do, and I will give the blood, sweat, and tears for it. And again, with this comic noob journey that I'm on, it is a learning experience, but I also bring other things to the table as far as small business ownership and the social media aspect. So I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff that's behind the scenes, but you're going to see it. And the only thing I could say is, if you are on board with what we're doing, share it out. Share out our website, share it our social media, whenever we have a press release, share it out, because that is one of the things that I love about this group, is that we all come together from different areas. And so our audience We're not just cannibalizing each other's audience either. We're bringing in new blood. And we need you for that. Back to you, Rob.
Well, not me yet. First, Brian K. Morris.
Man, the myth, the legend, Brian K. Morris.
Oh, sorry. No, you're talking about the guy at the Fez. To amplify on what Meredith said, I love the idea that we all have multiple disciplines in this. It's not just writing, it's not just drawing, that all of us can speak the same language because we have a little bit of experience in all of it, rather than somebody being a one-man band around here. And I am looking forward to working with these wonderful people. And I would also amplify on what Meredith said, please share what we're doing. Please don't be shy about it. And as the weeks and months and years unfold, we will have more and more news because you're seeing a group of people with the boldness of like the underground comics that Rob talks about, yet mainstream level talent. And I think it's rather exciting. I think you're going to see perhaps a new renaissance in independent comics now. And just keep an eye on us while we're changing the lay of the land here. Back to you, Rob.
All right, this one is for Meredith. Is this good, Meredith? Do I look like I'm looking at everybody?
That's fabulous. You have wonderful eyes, Rob.
Why, thank you. They are pretty. You know what also is pretty? Our closing message. Thank you for being part of this, but we want you to leave this program understanding one simple thing going forward. And it's something that can help everyone, and it's something important to everyone. And that is...
remember to be kind.